Hello. So today I'm really excited to have Monica Toshani of Breed Irie Dub Yoga. She's the co-founder of Dub Yoga, which is the fusion of mindful yogic movement. So Monica, I'm really, really happy to have you here today. She's a yoga teacher, she's a yoga instructor, and she's very much into meditation and really into empowering women. So tell me, what led you to yoga?
What led me to yoga was I was going to the gym and I was doing all kinds of like physical practices. So a lot of weightlifting, kettlebell, spinning, any and everything that they had at the gym. And then I realized I needed some stretching. So I took a couple stretching classes, and one of the classes ended up being a yoga class. And I remember going to that class, and was a couple of different teachers, and each one had their own style, of course, and naturally. But I remember just every time I would go, even if it was once a week, I felt better, and my stress levels seemed to come down. Like I didn't feel as anxious or as worried. At that time, I think I was just like 30. It's been a long time, so I was like 31. Mm-hmm. But at that time, I was just going through a very hard transition in my life, and there was a lot of very stressful moments. So I realized I started kind of doing the comparison of when I did this one class, versus all these other classes, how much better I felt. So I just continued that for a while, and then I ran. I actually took a class with one teacher who was just so profound, and I remember sitting in her class, and I'm like, man, this woman is she's profound. It was just more than a physical form, I found. And it just really touched me on how she taught. So that was my beginnings into yoga.
Wow, that's powerful, especially when you said at the gym. So that was really great because, I know often people say that, and it's been my experience where I haven't found the best, type of yoga at the gym. So that's awesome.
Exactly. But I think what happens at the gym is you encounter something that maybe is being taught in a more athletic, more, more as a physical exercise, and that's fine. But what as you start doing those exercises, you feel a shift come on naturally. So I think a lot of times, initially, a lot of people may find yoga at the gym, and then that creates a path of curiosity and wanting to find out more, and that's when they start looking for a yoga community or just yoga centers or something that can probably deepen their practice.
Yeah, definitely. So how has yoga impacted your life?
Oh, it's impacted it tremendously. Well, let's see, where it's helped me heal a lot. Let's just say that. We all have our own traumas, and trauma can affect us in different degrees, right? Mm-hmm. Something that may be traumatic for you may not be traumatic for me, or whatever it is, So the traumas reside within us in different forms, in different ways, and to different degrees, they affect us. So again, I was just coming out of just a real bumpy 20s, real hard 20s. Mm-hmm. And I found myself doing a lot of repetition, right? I found myself when I started moving myself out of situations that I needed to be out of, I thought to myself, I'm like, why am I seeing myself in the same place, the same thing, with the same person, but in a different body? So I started analyzing my behaviors and myself. And what I realized was that I was creating a pattern, or I had a pattern that I wasn't fully aware of, which was obviously getting into really toxic relationships with others, romantically, even friends. I even had toxic friends who weren't helping me raise up, and even a toxic relationship with me. I wasn't I wasn't taking care of myself like I should have. So I found that yoga, when I started my actual yoga training and really started walking on that path, I realized that although I thought I was already in a good place and that I thought maybe I was healed, just because I was learning to observe, not, and I had, at this time, I had not known anything or any concept or any ideas of yoga philosophy. But I found that when I started observing myself, that those patterns were very habitual, and I tended to put myself in situations that weren't the best for me. And yoga has helped me really learn how to observe myself. So even today, when I feel a slew of emotions coming on, or something that may become a battleground for me within, I don't try to change my emotional state right away. I try to feel those emotions. Mm-hmm. And even if it's uncomfortable, I'm still like riding that storm out until I'm done. And then that's when I begin to kind of like pull back and observe what's going on, because I don't want to take away from the fact that I am still human and I still have an emotional, energetic aspect to myself, and that there are things that are going to affect me in such a way that are going to create some type of turbulence. So each turn is like a learning for me. And, that in itself creates healing, because, every time we think we're okay, something comes into our lives and it says, okay, well, you don't know how to handle the situation. How are you going to learn how to handle it now? So yoga has been very healing for me.
That's powerful. Really, really powerful. Definitely. So tell me, when and why did you choose to become a yoga instructor?
Well, I was still living in Virginia. And again, I had encountered that one teacher that I was just like, wow, she's so profound. I think maybe that's the best word. So profound and so nurturing. And that wasn't who I was at the time. I wasn't a very patient person. I didn't have very nice thoughts sometimes. And I had a very a tongue that could lash out really quickly. I've always dealt with anger in such a way that I'm very quick-tempered. Mm-hmm. And that's an aspect I don't like about myself. And it's something that I've always worked towards, even when I felt that I had, I didn't have that in me anymore. It comes out, or it came out more frequently. So I remember, being inspired by this person who was just so patient, who was so profound, and who during her classes was just kind of giving this type of vibration. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. So when I remember one time I was leaving, I was like, at this time I had already decided to move to Florida. It was just the timing. I was trying to sell a home and it just wasn't happening, and the market wasn't the best at the time. So I remember thinking, when I moved to Florida, I'm going to become a yoga teacher. I don't know how. I didn't even know I didn't even know a yoga community existed in this world. I was just like, I want to practice yoga. I want to find other like-minded people who are into yoga as well, and who are into more thought-provoking, more, and just a more empowerment. A group of people who are empowering. So that was kind of my initial thought, and then probably like a year and some change later, I moved down here, and within a month I had ran into like a yoga festival, and I remember practicing when it was just like this like real yoga. It wasn't like anything because I had gone to different yoga classes and I still just didn't feel that connection, and it felt so like it was just so true, and it was, I don't know how to explain the feeling, but anyways, the class moved me so much. And when we were finished, I picked up their brochures and I found out they did teacher training and all that stuff. So I took their teacher training, and they were awesome teachers.
Good, that's awesome. So in some way, it also sounds like you wanted to experience more of it, and you also wanted to not only share it with people as a way of sharing in the class setting, like basically going to class, but also even teaching it, like being, the same thing that you got from that teacher in Virginia, you sort of like, seems like you wanted to give that back to other people.
Yeah. I mean, because we all have power over our thoughts, right? And we have, you know, we tend to think that things happen to us, but more or less what, you know, the realization that we do have control over our, you know, what we attract into our lives. And I think that's, you know, there's so many of us suffering thinking that just life happens to us, when in reality we are co-creators of our life. If we don't shift our thoughts and our energies, and we will attract those things, you know, to us. And it's just a nicer place to be, not to be affected by so many things, not to be tempered or angered by the smallest things, and not to be impatient. You know, those things don't feel good. That energy doesn't feel good. So, yeah.
No, definitely, because I've thought about it myself, how, you know, I have attracted good and bad things into my life, you know, by the way I thought, you know. So definitely, we are co-creators. What did you say?
Exactly. Even our language, you know.
Even, yes, definitely. You know, it's like, I don't know if it was, I remember once I heard Ian Levinson saying, you don't attract, you know, she says, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you expect. And I know I've caught myself expecting an outcome that I didn't want.
Exactly.
And then that's exactly what I got. And that's, you know, so definitely. So what are your thoughts on meditation?
My thoughts on meditation are that meditation is essential. Now, in whatever form you choose to practice it, again, I'm a firm believer that there's not one particular style for, you know, each person. Like, there's different forms, and what resonates with you is what you should be, you know, how you should practice, or what you should be working with as far as tools. But I think that it's essential in that we are super busy, you know. Our lives are extremely busy. Not only are we working full time, probably for someone else to make sure that our needs are met, but we're also coming home to do many extracurricular activities. If you have children, you're running around with them, moving from one activity to. So we're filling up our schedules, thinking that it signifies something of importance. And what it's done, it's taking away from our own time with ourselves. You know, even if it's not done in activities where every 5 seconds we're checking our phones, we're checking emails, we're on social media, we're texting one another, and we don't have a lot of quiet time to ourselves. So meditation gives us the time to kind of like reconnect with ourselves and really start listening to our intuitive self.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, no,
and
definitely.
That's where the best decisions come, you know, are made from, in the intuitive self. The ones that say, okay, well, you shouldn't go down this path because it's not for you. It's not what your spirit or your soul is really calling for you to do. So that's why I think meditation is important. That's, you know, so you can listen to your higher self, and obviously to come to a resting place, you know, not to be so distracted, not to be so over, you know, zealous as to task. You know, we don't really need to be doing 50 tasks in one day, right?
Yeah, so. No, definitely. Because there's something that you said that is so true, because I know for me, I've noticed that as I've really deepened my spiritual practice and meditate more, there was a time in my life where I would lash out. But it's like, I don't think I ever noticed that there was something within me that was telling me, don't go there. But now, whenever it comes up, whether I choose to stop myself or to even go ahead and do it, there is something within me that is telling me, don't go there. No, I do have to say, I don't always listen to it. I try my best, but it is true. There's something that is, you know, telling me, you know, you don't want to go there, or take a step back. And, you know, so definitely, and meditation has really helped me be able to respond instead of react. You know, I do react still, but I do notice I get to respond a lot more now to what's
Yeah.
happening.
And what happens is it becomes a work in progress, right? So
Oh yeah,
your
well,
path.
definitely. I mean, I believe, I know I'm a work in progress. I think we all are, right?
We all will always be students of life wherever.
Definitely.
A plateau, because guess what? Another lesson will present itself, right?
Definitely. Oh yeah. I mean, it's like they say. I forgot what I read the other day, where they basically were saying that life is ebb and flow. So things may be going great or something. You're gonna be presented with a situation to face, and for you to learn. I think what happens is that we resist them often.
Yep.
And that's why we're also suffering.
Oh, of course. There's a lot of suffering because we're not allowing that. We're not in a state of allowing.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay. So do you have a special, like a sacred place where you love, for you that you really enjoy practicing yoga and meditating, or either one?
Outdoors, whether it's in
Yes, me too.
whether it's in the park, whether it's in my backyard, that's where I feel most connected. So like I like to feel the dirt under my feet. I like to walk barefooted all the time, so I always have dirty feet. I just feel that there's that connection that we're making with Earth's energy, that helps us stay more grounded when we're exposing the soles of our feet to the earth, even the soles of our hands, and then just being out in the elements. You have the earth under you, you have the breeze moving through you, and then you have the sun kissing you. What better?
I know.
What better place?
Yeah, I am a big fan of outdoor yoga, and I have to say, meditating, that's like my favorite spot, is to do it outdoor. So I have a question for you, because I saw that you mentioned something, maybe you didn't mention it here, but about your feet touching the grass, and you like to practice on the grass. I'm curious about that because I've done outdoor yoga, and I've seen my instructor, let's say somebody shows up, like it's a free class and someone shows up without a mat. And they're like, okay, you can do it without a mat, but next time you need to bring a mat because it's a safety issue. I mean, is that really something that people we can't practice on the grass?
I've never heard of that.
I wanted to check that with you because I was like, why can't
I've never I've not had any, hazardous situations happen to me. Like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously you want to be cognizant of where you're practicing and making sure you're not on an anthill or something like that. You have all these red ants attack you. But I love practicing on the grass, and I've never had an issue. And I've practiced. There's times where I've done yoga outside and someone comes without a mat. I give them my mat and I'll practice on the grass. So again, I have not had any hazardous issues happen.
Yeah. So thanks for that.
Problem. So I think it's probably, maybe some people don't enjoy it that much, and maybe they don't want anyone complaining and saying they got bitten up during their class. But either way, you put a mat on the grass, whatever insects or anything, they're gonna climb onto your mat probably. So
yeah, definitely. So what would you say to someone who has never done yoga and never meditated and is curious about it? What would you say to them?
First, I like to, people say they've never practiced yoga or they never meditated, and meditation is hard, and yoga, you have to be flexible. Well, so when people give me that response, first with regards to yoga, I always say, well, it's just like a bodybuilder. A bodybuilder doesn't come out of the gym, cut up. That person's been working for a long time. They just, flexibility doesn't just happen overnight. So, and then I always reiterate that it is just the connection that you're creating with the physical body, right? as you start practicing, you start realizing certain areas of your body stretching, you're feeling certain areas opening up. So you become more like fluid, right? Your physical body becomes more fluid. So again, it's not necessarily on going into a split. It's about opening up those hamstrings and moving into the postures on your own time, but at the same time, kind of like learning how to come to that place where you're challenging yourself, but yet not pushing yourself too far past your own limitations. You know, you always want to listen to the body first. So one of the things that I reiterate for people who've never tried yoga or come to me with that is that you think of it as just you creating a relationship with your body. The real yoga has nothing to do with you doing these fancy tricks, you know? Because I mean, as fun as they are and as challenging, and you know, we are living in a world where we're competing completely all the time. So as competitive, you know, someone's teaching us and we're looking at someone else and saying, oh yeah, we could do this now. And, you know, it's yoga, the fundamental practice of yoga is coming into that knowing, or that the uniting of the body, mind, and spirit. So I feel the yoga practices and the exercises themselves allows you to align with your body, connect with the body, create a relationship with your body. And because the body is a miraculous, you know, object. It's a vehicle for our spirit, right? And if you really fine tune your senses with a biological body, it's amazing, you know, scientifically. And then meditation is more or less where, you know, people always say, oh, I can't because my thoughts are always running wild. And I always just kind of say, well, you need to think of your mind as a CPU, right? A computer processing unit. You need, each computer needs to shut down, right? If you run your computer 24/7 for 365 days, you're going to have a lot of backlog, a lot of slow lag in your computer, or you're going to have a complete, your computer's going to break down, right? So if we think of our minds in that form, then we kind of start learning how to log off and shut down. And that's what meditation does. It creates that shutdown of your mind so you can just be able to move forward in different things. And just, we all need a reset.
Yeah, no, definitely. I completely agree with you there. So what would you say if you were to, what is yoga? Is there one word, or for you, a few words that you would say what yoga is? I have a Facebook friend, I think she does yoga, I don't remember, but I know she practices. And she was asked, you know, that was her status. And I thought it was so powerful because it got me thinking, and I gave a few answers. So I'm curious, what is yoga, you would say?
For me, in my mind, what I see, you know, there's all these terms that people use, and the yogic philosophy, right, the official, is where you're creating that union between the self and the higher self, right, to kind of remove the veil of illusion. But for me, it means you're in a moving meditation, right? Mm-hmm. You're moving through your asanas, through your exercises, and it be like you move into a place of complete stillness, and you're focusing on each asana, mm-hmm. and you're focusing on the breath, and you begin to move through each exercise. So what happens is everything that you're thinking of when you walked into that classroom or onto your mat, it ceases to exist. It no longer exists. Mm-hmm. So what you have is just the now. You're in that present moment, and you're so focused on your movements. You're so focused on keeping up with what your guide is telling you, or how she's directing, or he or she is directing you. And you're so focused on the breath that it turns into a meditation. So for me, it is a moving meditation, and the ultimate connection with, you know, again, the uniting of yourself with the higher self, you know, the self with your understanding that you're residing in this physical body, and it needs to be taken care of. You have this energetic body, which is your emotional body, that needs to be realigned, and making sure that all the energies are flowing through it in a very healthy and positive way. And then obviously to learn how to quiet the mind. So that's what it is for me.
Yeah, okay, good. So what do you believe the impact of yoga and meditation can be on our world, especially today, the times we're living in?
I think that it can remove that idea or that concept that we are all different, you know? I remember when I first got on my mat, the class was so diverse. And the previous classes that I had been to, and this is where I studied yoga, the previous classes, it was a very homogeneous group. And subconsciously or consciously, you still tend to like look at each other's, you're like, oh, well, you start looking at the differences. So as you begin like to practice and you create that, I don't know, when you start moving into that world or that realm, that whole veil of this illusion that we all have is that we are separate individuals. It falls away completely, and therefore you become more tolerant, right? You become more empathetic, more compassionate, more loving. You know, you're loving yourself, and once you create that first and most important relationship with the self, and that's there and it's taken care of and it's being nurtured, you're able to give others the same kind of love in a very unconditional way. So I think yoga would help us move from this idea or this concept that, you know, that we have all these differences, you know, by language, by race, by ethnicity, by political parties, by continent, by, you know, religion. The world is so wrapped up in the cipher of, or these little groups of people based on what they identify with. And then reality is that these identities are all false, you know? They really don't exist, because when we leave this body, we cannot take this identity with us.
No.
You know, I cannot say, Monica, you're a Colombian and you're a woman, and that my spirit has no concept of this boundary. So if we begin to remove those concepts of these boundaries that we're creating for ourselves, I think the world would be way better, and it would be, I mean, such a harmonious place to be in. Right now, we don't have that.
No, definitely. Totally get that. And I guess in sort of like we would get the same with meditation too, right? Or at least, you know, it would help with the stillness of our mind. We would really be able to respond instead of react, and really, you know, be in a more, you know, calm state, right?
Yeah, exactly. Where we're not ready to, you know, be so aggressive. I mean, the climate right now is showing that, right? There's an aggression. There's a huge aggression. And so it's a very reactionary, and it's a very intolerant climate. And it's so cool. Like, not that it's cool, that's great, but it's so cool. It's so cool to observe that how impactful a drop of hate can be on a group of people, you know, in here and then outside of here, you know what I mean? Like, so this is why it's important to really, 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 really nurture positivity and nurture these loving thoughts, because the minute you drop a negative thought, so it's like a seed, and it can become a weed, right? And it turns into, and it grasps a hold of everything. And to change the paradigm isn't always easy, right? We're gonna have to have a collective to help begin to shift that. And even then, so there's gonna be people that are still so stuck on their beliefs that they're not gonna be willing to shift that paradigm.
No, definitely. And what happens too is that, you know, people are feeling attacked. And when people feel attacked, they feel like they have to defend themselves. And then it's sort of like what you were saying, it's sort of like we're like, basically we're hate and hate instead of, you know, because then people are like, well, wait a minute, if I'm feeling hate and you want me to respond to love, then I'm being weak. I'm being, you know, so yeah, it is really something, you know. So definitely. So I know empowerment is very important to you, and it's something that you do, especially for women. I believe. Please tell me more about your thoughts on empowerment and your own empowerment work.
So I used to have a nonprofit organization called Sweet Eden, and it was basically using the power of yoga to help empower women. Running a nonprofit is too hard, so I didn't have enough Monicas to go around. But my thought is on empowering. I can't say that word too well. So empowering women is that we are the nurturers and we are the creators, and we hold, you know, that key to humanity, right? And I think that when we empower our sisters, we uplift them, right? And then once a woman is uplifted, and there's even research that says that, right? When a woman is more educated, that, you know, she becomes a big asset to the community when she's earning equally. She's just as, you know, it's just a very powerful movement for women to be empowered.
Yeah.
However, in whatever form, financially, emotionally, but my belief is that once a woman is empowered, right, and she's able to, say for instance, her life might have not been so well, and she has these children, and her children have kind of seen their mother not as strong or not as capable, and they see a more masculine dominance and, you know, that competitive aspect to life, and very, not saying masculine energy is bad at all, but it's just saying when there's an imbalance, right?
Yes.
So I feel that when a child can go through traumatic experiences as a woman's not strong enough or empowered enough because she hasn't made the right choices, right? Because there's this lack of self-love. So when she's able to empower herself, however it may be, she's able to show resiliency to her children, right? And then as she teaches her children this, right, the male and the female, right, you create a healthier society. You create a man who's going to be honoring the feminine, right, and not necessarily abuse the feminine energy. And vice versa, you're going to see a female who's going to accept her own feminine energy and not really try to adopt the more masculine energy, because that's what's happening, I feel, is that women are looking down upon feminine energy as being it not sufficient enough, or being too weak, or not being aggressive enough, because the world is very aggressive, and we have to be an aggressor to be able to be functioning in this world. So if we're able to fine-tune our own families and children, then we're able to send, like, it's like sending seeds off into the world, and then we're recreating and we're empowering and we're reinvigorating the next generation to be stronger, to be more self-loving, to just have that nurturing aspect and not look down on these energies. And then that balance begins to kind of, you come back, and then there's not that, there's not that cycle of viciousness or cycle of an imbalance, in particular with the masculine energy and masculine traits. So that's
I get that. What?
So that's my biggest belief as far as, like, empowering women. It's important that we uplift our sisters. It's important that when one of us may not be feeling well for whatever reason, that we don't judge and we don't criticize their decisions, more or less come from a place of understanding as to why this person has done this or gone through this, or why is she doing this, versus, again, criticizing and tearing apart. Like, that doesn't work. It's not beneficial to anything.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I really love how you mentioned that when a woman really balances, like, she embraces both the feminine and the masculine energy, and she loves herself, and there's that balance. She is in tune with herself. She makes a good choice with her partner. And then,
Exactly. And
then
that's
I
important.
love how you, and then her children. So I love how it's so true, because it's a cycle. So
It's
I
a
love
cycle.
it how you put it together. Great. Really, really love it. So tell me, what do you stand for in life and why?
Well, I have a lot of things I stand for, but my my biggest thing is tolerance. You know, when we have tolerance, I'm able to see myself in you, and you know, I can therefore not feel superior to you, right? And then I'm able to say, okay, well, you may be feeling this way. Well, why? You know, why? What do you need from me? You know what I mean? Like, when there isn't tolerance, there's a lot of discontent, a lot of hate, a lot of inequality. And the world we're inundated by inequality. Doesn't matter if we're here in the United States with racial inequalities. But you have some other places that are completely unequal when it comes to their choice of practicing their religion. You know, you have places that you can't practice a particular religion. So there's inequality all over the world.
You can't have a certain political view.
Exactly. So like, when we have tolerance, then we're able to say, okay, well, you know what, you feel that way, and that's cool, and I understand that. But I feel this way because of that. And now, you know what happens when we have tolerance? We're able to work together. We're able to collaborate together. We're able to grow, and we're able to move forward in this ground that we're in. You know what I mean? Like, so that creates sustainability within the human race, right? Or even within the relationships that we hold with Earth, you know, there's a complete imbalance. And when we're not viewing things as equal, or as we are part of that, or we are nature, we all these things, and then, you know, it just kind of creates an imbalance, which, you know, we're suffering big time from. The next would be compassion. Obviously, I feel that compassion is essential to ourselves. We should always be compassionate towards others, and make sure that we're not necessarily a doormat, but to the point where you're just like, okay, well, you know, this person is this way. I can say, okay, cool, I love you from afar, and that's fine. And it also brings forgiveness, right? We need forgiveness to be able to move forward. So that's the second one. The other ones would be love, empathy, what else? You know, being a just individual, making sure that, you know, there aren't injustices around you. So if you're in a particular area or whatever, and you feel that there's an injustice, definitely speak out about it. Like, I don't feel that you should be a quiet mouse just because you don't want to create a disturbance. I feel like you should really speak and honor that truth of yours, and not really see that as a negative thing. So.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. So what are your thoughts on life purpose? And do you have one? And what is it, if you don't mind sharing with us?
Oh, I think that we all have a life purpose, right? But I also believe that the life purpose may change in your life. You know, there's different chapters in your life, and maybe your life purpose for some years was just solely to be a nurturer, and, you know, and that's what you did. And everything outside of that kind of took, you know, importance, but not as much as you being a soul nurturer. And then there's another chapter in your life where you may now use your voice to help others. However, whatever it is, but I do believe we all have a life purpose. And I do believe that it comes at different times in our lives, for, you know, just like anything else, there's a time for everything. My life purpose would be, I think, to encourage others. I think that's been an aspect of myself that it's always been there. Even when my children were growing up, you know, I was always trying to encourage them and make them look at life from a different perspective and a different angle. And that's still pretty much me today, you know, that hasn't changed. I still feel that so many of us are looking through like blurred glasses, and you know, I like giving people different perspectives and different just a different view on things versus them just seeing a very one-dimensional view, because I believe we have many dimensions and we should be able to see the different dimensions that are part of our lives.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you know, as you were sharing that, I do believe too that's true, that we do have, like, depending on where you are in life, you know, the different phases of your life, you do have different life purposes, or I don't know if I would call it like different layers. But one thing that I do believe in, as you shared about always, you know, you believe your life purpose is about encouraging people, and you even mentioned when you know, being a mom and encouraging your children. Wouldn't you say, because I know it's been my experience, that in some way there's something that is a core within you that you show up as that every area of your life and everything that you're doing. So I can just see that you are the type of person that you're encouraging your children, you're encouraging your partner, you're encouraging other family members and friends and your yoga students, like just everywhere. And you know, I remember once hearing somebody say that, and for me, it's like, okay, I know I show up on purpose when I inspire someone, you know, or empower them. So that's sort of like what you know, I don't know if that makes sense to you, that, you know,
No, it makes complete sense. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's when I don't know, I would say, like, I know for myself, when somebody says this and, oh, wow, you really empowered me or inspired me to do this, I know, wow, I showed up in purpose, you know, and probably for you, by encouraging other people. And when they say, wow, Monica, you're like, okay, I'm on purpose, you know, because that's like the main one where you show up like that everywhere, you know? So yeah. And I can get that from you too. So we have like two more questions. So I'm gonna what do you believe the world needs more of? Actually, it's one more, but this is the last question actually. What do you believe the world needs more of? And if it had it, it would make a huge difference to the world. Understanding.
That's just it's the core of everything. If we understand more, we love more. If we understand more, we see people like ourselves more. If we understand more, we're more empathetic, we're more compassionate. So I just think that understanding is the key thing. Understanding and not it just creates a aspect of you that's not judgmental, you know. So when we don't understand and we start drawing our own conclusions, we become too judgmental, and from those judgments is where we create, you know, not feminism, racism, you know, all these intolerant things when it comes to like religion. Any ism comes from not understanding.
No, definitely.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. And when you say that once we have understanding, then we will have love.
Correct.
We'll have compassion, and we'll have justice.
Exactly.
You know, because
I mean,
definitely. What?
It's, you know, like how you cannot justify things that are wrong, right? It's just however you try to slice it and dice it, it's still wrong. It's still unjust. It's still coming from a place of hatred. And as we all know, anything that comes from a place of hatred, it's not conducive for ourselves, for our next door neighbor, for our friend, for the whole of humanity, and again, even the planet. So, you know, understanding creates that space, that realm, so we can become in that love that we fundamentally are. We came from love, and we've forgotten that. A lot of us have forgotten that. So when we completely understand that, then we start trying to really fall in line with that and live our lives in alignment with that.
No, definitely, definitely. And I have to share that I did my first headstand with her, Monica. I don't know if you remember. That was, and actually, I have to tell you, I haven't really been able to do it.
Oh, no.
I mean, I did, I think maybe once or twice, but I couldn't stand the way you had me stand, like for that long, you know? I mean, it wasn't a long time, but with you, I was. What? What did you say?
Too bad you live so far away.
I know, and I have to say, I really, really enjoyed your class because I really liked it because it was, and I think I don't know if it was in, I think it was in your class where I was saying, and just the other day, because they use a lot of rock pose in Kundalini yoga, and
Uh-huh.
I struggle with that one, and I think you showed me a way to do it, and I was able to do it, but I didn't seem to remember how to do it. But I remember I did one of her classes, and it was really great because even though it was physical as well, but it's also, I don't know, your voice, the way you went about it, the way you led the class and did the meditation, it was powerful because for me it's the spiritual side that really, drew me
Yep.
to yoga. So Monica, I want to tell people, so if you want to, do you mind sharing, like, how do people find out more about you? How do people find out about your classes or something? You want
So
to,
you can
social
find
media, so.
you can find more on the classes on www.breatheiry.yoga.com, and I have a list of the classes there. I'm also super active on Instagram and Facebook, so you can find us there. Instagram is at Dub Yoga, and then everything else is at breatheiry.yoga. So everything else is spelled out completely as a company. But yeah, you can find us on Facebook, on the web, on Instagram. Not too much on Twitter. Too much. That's too much social media.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know how, I have to say, I don't know how people do it because I've had some people, like coaches, say, you have to be on every platform. I'm like, really? But I don't
Yeah.
think so because it becomes too much. I mean, for me, I don't really use Twitter. I think I go more on Twitter sometimes when I'm checking out political,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
political
Everybody
stuff.
on Twitter's more political, like
Yeah, but I do have an account. It's actually linked to my Facebook business account, but I don't really use it that much. But yeah, so definitely. So thank you so much. I really am happy that you said yes to my offer, and it was really great talking to you. And who knows, hopefully you'll come back one day and join
yours.
me again. So do you have any final word that you want to say to any of the viewers who, one final word about yoga and meditation or anything, could even be about empowerment?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, and
Yeah.
for those out there, thanks for checking this video out. Mainly, what I would like to say is don't be scared to try yoga or meditation. Find someone that really resonates with you, and hop around until you find that someone. There's nothing wrong with that. But definitely try it, or some type of movement, because it just creates a whole different atmosphere within. It creates a space of healing, a space of, believe it or not, it creates a lot of empowerment in that you begin to feel real good about yourself. So definitely don't knock it, and just at least try it and see what works for you. And again, find someone that resonates well for you. If that person, you didn't feel that connection, or you felt like that person wasn't guiding you the way you wanted to, go find somewhere else. But don't close your mind to it just because you haven't had a good experience.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. My first yoga class, let me tell you, I probably would not have thought that I would have been practicing right now because it was 2 hours at Miami-Dade, and I was like, no, I'm not doing this.
I know a lot of people have never gone back to yoga because their first experience was horrible. So
Yeah.
there a lot of people turn their just they're not interested anymore. They become disinterested, when in fact it's a very, studies prove scientifically that it's good on the body, right? And it reduces stress levels, and it reduces anxiety. And if you're suffering with any of those things, it is extremely recommended for you to try.
Yeah. When you say too, because I know it's been my experience with yoga and with everything else, and I just realized, I guess I'm gonna say one more thing, and I said we're gonna end it. At least it's been my relationship with yoga and with many things. Like when they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Because when I had moved away from Miami, I was in DC. I was still, dealing with a breakup. I wasn't working. I was looking for work. I had moved, being in a new surrounding. A friend of mine told me about a yoga class, and I was like, okay. And somebody had said to me, you've been tried it, you tried it on Miami-Dade, which is a college here, and it's like, you tried it at the gym, you didn't like it, go to a yoga studio. And I went, and I have to say, that's when I really really
Yeah.
got into yoga. So I felt like in some way I was open to it and I was ready for it.
Exactly. You have to be open and ready.
Yeah.
So, but like at least you tried, you know what I mean?
Yeah, some people, I haven't tried Bikram yoga. Do I have to?
No, me neither. I don't think I would try. I've done yoga a couple of times, and it's not. I feel like it's extreme. I'm not about extreme anything. Like I feel like yoga is created for a balance, and that those things are extreme. To each his own, whatever you choose. But I just feel like it's an extreme. I mean, putting your body under duress to that extent is a little much. But
yeah, no. Whenever I've been, a friend of mine's been asking me to do it, and I'm like, the thing is also, I didn't do, the first time I went to like a sauna or something, I did not do well. And I was like, I don't know, I can't do that heat, so I've been really, and I hear people say that your first time, you feel sick. And I'm like, why would I go somewhere?
Why would you get sick? People are like, oh yeah, I saw someone throw up. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
that's not.
I know, it's just like, you just need to keep going. I'm like, and for me, I don't know. I mean, I'm like, you know what? Why would I go somewhere and know I'm probably going to feel sick,
I tried a hot yoga class one time, and I was like, this is so not comfortable. Like, I felt like I couldn't even, like, for me, it has to be a moving meditation. Now, again, if you're looking just for a physical exercise, and that's by all means is what is going to work for you. But I couldn't even meditate. I couldn't even come into a meditative state practicing because I was slipping. I was, it was just so sweaty. It was just disgusting. So
yeah. No, I enjoy acro yoga, but for me, like, I have a teacher of mine. She really got into acro yoga, and it seems like when she really got into it, her class got a lot more physical. And I love her as a person, but I realized that I didn't come to class to be like,
yeah, exactly.
Because I feel like I'm just like, and I like that. I want to work my body. I want to, because I also discover a lot about myself through these movements, but I don't want to feel like I'm in a, like, I don't know, like a gym or something,
Exactly.
So, well, thank you again, Monica.
You're welcome.
It was great having you. It was a great conversation. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, bye.